Hey everyone, Omar Kazarski, Creative Director of Bauer Web Solutions here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to add a blog posting using WordPress. The version we're using here is 3.31. So if you visit our website, www.bauerwebsolutions.com, you will see pages that links to our various WordPress offerings as well as a demo of a basic WordPress installation site, which is what I'm using here. So this is just straight out of the box installation of WordPress. We just changed the logo to a generic fictitious company here, and this particular WordPress site doesn't have any additional pages, is just a mechanism to post various blog postings here. So in this particular example we have two here, so I'm going to show you how to add your own postings. So if you have a basic WordPress site, you would log in. Usually from the sidebar there's usually a link to log in. So you would log in with your specific username and password to give you administrative access to the site, which brings you to your dashboard. We have other videos that explain in general terms what these different sections of the dashboard do, but in this particular video we're going to talk about how to add a post, a blog post. So on the left hand side here we're going to go to the blog section, and you notice when I roll over blogs I see pop up a menu for the different categories here. Or I can just simply click on where it says post right now to go to that main section here. So this shows me all of the posts that we have thus far. So I could roll over one of them and either edit it with the full editor or a quick edit just to change certain aspects of it, or trash it or see what it looks like. So in this particular case I'm going to add a new posting. So once I'm in the post section, I could either go here to post and add a new post, or in the post section here I could add a new post here by going to add new. One new feature of WordPress 3.3 is that we have this little plus symbol up on the top in this dark gray admin bar, and I can actually add a new post this way instead of having to go specifically to the post category. So they've just made it a little bit easier. So multiple ways here, but again, probably the most straightforward way would be to go to the post section and then up here to add new post. So also with this new version of WordPress, occasionally you'll see these little pop-up windows telling you about some of the new features. In this case here, it's talking about the updated media uploader, where in previous versions you had different icons to upload either a picture or sound or video. Here you have it's all in one inclusive icon. So I'm just going to dismiss this little dialog box here. So here we are. I want to add a post here. So let's say we're going to first give the post a title. So the title will go in this section. And let's say I'm going to talk about the fact that WordPress 3.3.1 is now available. So that's going to be the headline for my post. And then in this section here is where your actual content would go. So I would say WordPress is now updated to 3.31. Please back up your data. Oops, you notice here how it's actually underlining the words that are spelled wrong, so that's kind of handy. Please back up your data before updating. Okay. Now obviously I would go on and on and on and write multiple paragraphs, so on and so forth, but just to kind of give you the idea here. And you'll see here you have these two tabs here, visual and HTML. The HTML, if I were to click on that, it would actually allow me to code this posting and add actual HTML coding to it. Most users are not going to be comfortable or familiar enough with HTML to kind of do those things. Maybe once in a blue moon you might need to use the HTML mode to add very specific coding content, but I'm probably going to go out on a limb and say 99% of the time the majority of you will never ever use the HTML editor. So I'm going to suggest that you stick with the visual editor. So within the visual editor here, some basic concepts here. I could highlight a word. I'll say, let's say, updated. And within the bar here, I can make the highlighted word bold, or clicking it again would take that highlighted word or phrase and unbold it. Or I could italicize it, or I could do both. I could bold and italicize it. Or I could do a strike through, a line through it. Okay? So it's very similar to Microsoft Word or other editing programs. If I'm listing, things like a list of items, I can say new features, hit a return, easier editing, new media uploader, combined admin bar, and more. Okay, so I've just created a couple of different paragraphs here, separating each one with a return or the enter key. So if I wanted to take these three here and make it into a list, I could highlight those paragraphs and click on this icon here to make it an unordered list, which would put little bullets beside them. Or I can change it into a numbered list. Or if I didn't want it to be a list at all, I could turn that off. Or indent it using block quote. Alright. If I take a paragraph, I can either make it a line left, which it is by default, or a line right, or centered. Okay. Now, remember, this is just the what they call a WYSIWYG editor, which is an acronym for what you see is what you get. It should probably be more accurately described as what you see is more or less what you get. So, bear in mind that if I choose the align right option here, it is align right. You would think it would go all the way out to here, but this is just a representation of what it would look like. So let's see actually what it does look like. If I wanted to kind of test this out before I actually publish it live, what I could do is go to the right here and click on preview. A separate window opens up and it shows me what this would look like. So you can see here how it is aligned right within the main area of the page here. So I can close this separate window here. If I wanted to do additional work to this, but I can't continue at this time, I would click on Save Draft, Save as Draft, so at least this work is done right now, so I could either close this session, go to lunch, and then come back, or whatever the case is. Or if I like what I have right now, I could simply say Publish. So I click on that Publish. It is now live on the site. And if I wanted to actually check that out, if I said View Post, again it opens up a separate window here, and now this is what it actually looks like in my live site. Okay? If I wanted to add a link, let's say I wanted to add a link and say check out Bauer Web Solutions for more info. So I would type something, then I could highlight the word or phrase that I want to be a hyperlink. So I can highlight that, and you notice now within the toolbar this little link appears, a little chain link. I'm going to insert a link. So I can type in my address. Now remember, when you're doing a link to another website, it has to begin with http://, all right? Which, if you would notice, it actually added that for me in the beginning, which is very nice of it. And then you could just continue with the web address or whatever that happens to be. In this case, I want to link to the Bower Web Solutions site, so I will continue by typing www.bowerwebsolutions.com. I could give it a title, meaning that when I hover over that link, it'll say something. And if I wanted that link to open up in a different window, I would click Open Link in a new window. So that's usually recommended if you go into somebody else's website. If you're just linking to another portion of your own site, I would not have that turned off. So following with that, how would you link to another section of your own site? Instead of typing it in here, you would expand this section here that says or link to existing content by clicking on this gray arrow. Then I can find another one of my postings or another one of my pages, click on that, and then it will add that link to that section. So right now I'm going to be content with having it linked to the outside website of Bower Web Solutions, and I'll say add link. There it is. Okay, so notice when I roll over it and keep my mouse there for a second or two, that yellow post-it note with that little wording, that's what the title is. Okay? If I wanted to add more tab here, I got that little indicator here, and I'll select that to get rid of that. What is that? This more tab allows you, let's say you had content that was like 500 words, but you only wanted to show the first 50 or so. By adding this little button here for more, it adds a little more button, so someone would just see the beginning of the posting, and then they could click on that more button within your posting, and then the rest of the content would expand. All right. Here we have a toggle to turn the spell check on or off. I usually like to have it on because if anybody knows me, I don't spell all that great. So you can see here with the spell checker on, it underlines questionable words, and you can even change the dictionary here. But obviously, you would change it to a different language if English was not your first language here. This other icon here allows you to toggle into the full screen mode. By clicking on this, you notice how your whole browser is taken up here. So that menu bar then shows up if you kind of move your mouse to the top there, but if you keep your mouse still, it disappears. So once I move it and move it to the top again, it reappears. Then I would go to the left-hand side here to this link that says Exit Full Screen to bring us back to where I was. I usually don't recommend people use the full screen mode, only because some people get kind of twisted and confused. Okay. This last button here allows to show or hide what they call the kitchen sink. It's that old analogy. It's like it contains everything but the kitchen sink. Well, the kitchen sink, if I click on this, it gives you additional choices here. Okay? So I could click on that, turn that off, and on again. It's just a toggle back and forth. So by having the kitchen sink on, it allows you to give your paragraphs, for instance, different headings. Like I could highlight a paragraph and apply different headings. So these settings here are paragraph specific. So I couldn't just select a few words and say make it heading 3. or heading 2, it's an all or nothing thing for a particular paragraph. Okay? But I could also underline a word. Just because they're giving you the ability to underline it here using the kitchen sink doesn't necessarily mean that you should. We strongly recommend against using the underline feature. The reason being is that we as a society are conditioned to, whenever we see an underlined phrase within a web page, to think that that is going to be a hyperlink. So although people use underlining in Word documents and what have you, what happens with most users when they see underlined text within a web page, they're compelled to click on it. And when they click on it and it doesn't work because it's not a functioning web link, they think that either the site is broken or they get frustrated with their own efforts, which it's really no fault of their own. So we really do not recommend that you use the underline feature, but for those that insist on having it, you would have it there. But as my professional recommendation as a web designer and interface developer, I do not recommend you use the underline. We have another link here to justify your text, so it goes flush left and flush right. I also, you have to use that sparingly because depending upon the width of your page and the content in it, sometimes justifying your text, since it's adding additional space between the words of your paragraph, sometimes the spacing might look off. I could highlight some words here and use this next icon here, give that text specific colors here. You know, again, if you needed to draw emphasis to something. I do want to bring your attention to skipping over a few here. This icon here will actually undo the last thing you did, or this forward pointing arrow will redo the last thing you just undid. So you do have undos and redos within this program. If you're taking content from another document, you know, in essence you want to copy and paste it, the best way of doing it is selecting the content from the other program, like the other text document in question, and then pasting it in using one of these two methods here. If you have a basic text document, like say something created in WordPress, Notepad, or TextEdit, you would copy that content, and then in the kitchen sink choices that I've shown you here, this button here would paste whatever you have just copied as plain text. If you're taking something from Word, Word is notorious for adding additional extra styling and coding to your web pages when you paste it in, and it's really, from a coding and a design standpoint, is really awful. However, if you are copying something from Word, you can then paste it into your posting here with this paste from Word option. Okay, but again, I would probably try to avoid that if at all possible. If you've done special formatting to something, or you've pasted in something and it inherited that special formatting from that other program, you could highlight that and click on this little block eraser tool to remove the formatting. Okay, this little omega sign here allows you to insert a custom character. So, for instance, things like trademark symbols or the copyright symbol, you know, the little C inside of the circle, or the registered symbol, things like that, those require special HTML coding to apply that to a page here. Not necessarily something you're going to memorize how to do, so that's great, very handy that we have this little icon here. So let's say I wanted to add a trademark symbol after WordPress. I could click on this little omega symbol, and then these are all the different special symbols like umlauts and accents and etas and all these different things here, you know, as well as, you know, math symbols as well. So if I'm looking for the trademark symbol, I would look for it here, which is right here in this first row. Could click on that, and there is my trademark symbol. Okay. When I'm dealing with paragraphs or lists, I can indent a paragraph or subsequently outdent it. And that's also handy when dealing with lists as well, because then you can indent a list or make, sub lists within a list as well. I talked about the undo and redo, and we also have this little question mark button here which gives you online help. Okay, so it explains the basic editing as well as some of the advanced editing, and you actually have keyboard shortcuts as well within the program. Okay. One last thing that I will show you. Well, since we've done a little bit of work, I'm going to save what I've done here. So let me update that to update those live changes here. The last thing I want to show you is just how to add a picture. Okay. So let's say I wanted to add a picture here at the bottom after the last line about going to Bower Web Solutions. So here's my insertion point. And to insert a picture, I would go to the upload feature here. This little icon. This is add media. I click on that. So I can either add information that exists on my computer right now from a URL or from some other website if I knew the web address, or if I've uploaded something in the past, I could add it from my media library. In this particular case here, I'm going to add it from my computer. So in the top left here, I'm going to click on the tab that says From Computer, and I can either drag a file from my desktop or from my computer onto this section here, or I can just click on this little folder, little button here that says Select Files. I will find a file to upload. Okay, and it shows me the information here. What I'm about to upload, the file type, when it was, uploaded, the dimensions. Okay, I could give it a title. So instead of just giving it the file name, maybe I'll make it something a little bit more user-friendly. Okay, the alternate text is the text placeholder that is used while the image is still being uploaded to your machine, which is especially handy when you have slower connections. It also helps people that are visually impaired that use screen readers to view websites, so I'll put that in there. If I wanted to put a caption, I can do that. I will say the Bower Web Solutions company logo. You don't have to use a caption, but I'm just doing this for purposes here, so you remember where we see this here when I show you this. A description, again, that just helps with search engine optimization and search engines, not required at all. Now, if you want them to be able to click on it, where do you want them to go? That's the link URL. So right now, clicking on it, I could either have it go and just show me the actual graphic file by itself close up, or link it to the associated blog posting, or not have it do anything at all. So if I said none, it won't link at all. I can have the alignment be none, so it'll just be on its own line, or I could have it be flush left and have any text run on the right hand side of it, or have it be in the center, or have the image be on the right and have text run on the left hand side of it. I'm going to say let's make it center, and I can choose a different size for it. I'm going to use it at its full size here, and then I'll say insert into post. So you have to click on insert into post, and there it is. Okay, so remember we had given it a caption, so that's what it shows up here. Let me see what that looks like. So let me update it for you, and I'll preview the changes. Alright, so that's what it looks like here. So I'm looking at it here, and now I'm thinking, well, you know what? I think the logo should be flush left, and I really don't need it to be a caption. So see how it put it against this gray background with the caption here? I just want it to be the logo by itself. So if I go back, and how do I edit a photo that I've already added in? Well, if I move my mouse over it and click on it, you'll see I got these two little icons. If I click on this red kind of Ghostbuster, no smoking symbol, that will actually delete the image. But I'm going to click on this image here. It looks like a little photograph, to edit the image. Okay? So I didn't want a caption, so I'm going to remove the caption, and I'll say, you know what, just have it, no alignment here. I'll say align left. All right, and then I can update that. So there is my image now. So if I update, and I can preview the changes or view the post, there is my picture now with no caption. All right, and if we look at the site itself, you can see here now how this new blog posting has been added, and it's up on the top of the list on top of the previous ones that were posted earlier in the year. Okay, so, and then finally, to log out, you would go to the top left hand corner and into that dark gray bar and choose log out from the drop down. So it brings you back to the login screen, so you can either log into somebody else or click on this bottom link to go back to the main site and just view it as a general user. All right, and there's your post. So that's a little bit about how to add a post or a blog entry to WordPress. All right, so if you need additional help or additional training on some of the other aspects of administering a WordPress website, or you need customization of either a new WordPress website installation or an existing WordPress site that you have, and you want to add more functionality to it, or change some of the back-end coding to change some of the visual aspects of the site to make it more user-friendly, or even help with optimizing it for search engines, please visit our website, www.bowerwebsolutions.com, and feel free to ask us any questions, and we'll be able to help you.